is. We're always standing on the shoulders of giants, building on top of what went before. And in this case, we've taken years of research from Microsoft Research to pull this off.
I think it's a young girl throwing an orange frisbee in the park.
For me.
So what do you guys think? Okay, if I were to ask you one word, what's the key takeaway for this from this video? Please. Anybody knows him? He's in Seattle, right? Okay, that's fine. Yeah.
Everything is possible.
Everything is possible. Okay. Any other takers? Okay, cool. All right, so let's get into. So the first thing that you have on that form, if you guys just take half a minute, what are you up to these days? You know, if somebody were to ask you, what would you say? Let's take a quick half minute to write that down, inshallah. This is going to be your draft one. Hopefully, you know, you can look back at it 5 years from now and you'll be like, hey, this was a key pivotal moment in my life, inshallah. This is the book you're going to write tonight. Thank you for coming. You have a pen here as well. So we're just writing down the first question, which is, what are you up to these days? Okay, so if you've done that, then the next question is, you know, what are some of the things about this world that really bothers you and you want somebody to just come in and fix those things for you? So there's some example on the sheet as well, which you can now see on the screen as well. Okay, if you can just pass them some of these. Oh. Okay, so young brother, can you come forward? Let me give you some sheets. Come over here, quick. What's your name? So how many do we have? 3 new? Okay. 1, 2, 3, go. 3 pens. All right, so we will move on just in a minute.
We're going to keep this or we're going to take it?
You will keep this. You can email it to me if you want, but if not, it's going to be a private thing. So you can, be honest with yourself. This is privately only for you. Other than the cameras that will take a picture. Rather than
Be honest with yourself.
Yes, be honest with yourself.
How?
How? Well, just don't filter it. So if your heart says something, write it down. No cultural filters or what would that person say or what would it happen if somebody reads it. Okay, so now we're moving on. So the question is just for inspiration, what are some other people up to in their life? So we saw Brother Saqib. So actually what you would see that anything I'm showing you, usually there's a video link attached to it. So if you can access the slide, as I mentioned earlier, then you can actually see the videos associated with that idea as well. Okay, so we saw an example of Brother Saqib. And this is some information about myself. I work for Microsoft plug. So please install Windows Defender on your computers if you haven't done so already. We are leading. We will beat any free antivirus as well. You don't need to buy antiviruses anymore. Okay, so yeah, this is some of the stuff about myself. Alhamdulillah, I've got to present my research at several conferences as well, including some of the very prominent speakers, alhamdulillah, as well. Okay, this is our brother, Dr. Ahmed from Toronto. He's got amazing research in eye surgery and glaucoma and things like that. So this is also to kind of share that some of the great work that Muslims have been doing. And one of the interesting things that I was reading, a lot of time we see that, hey, a lot of people wrongly connect Islam with what's happening in, Muslim world, quote unquote, right? And they think that, the backwardness or, the lack of technological innovation and what have you has something to do, a'udhu billah, with Islam. But if you really go deep down into it, you see all the political realm of things and whatever. But the main thing is that, there are many Muslims who are actually contributing in North America and so on and so forth. So that's Dr. Ahmed. Obviously, these are some of the founders of Bay Area startups, right? Again, coming from Muslim countries and, Muslims and so on and so forth. Rihan also is another brother. Okay, well, now if you want to move on into the Islamic space, Dr. Bilal, right? I mean, he's a convert to Islam. So you can imagine, I don't know, like a 20-year-old person learning Islam from scratch, not even knowing the Arabic alphabet. Alhamdulillah, now he has written over 50 books, runs an online university, on the ground university, massive, massive impact, right? So if you look at the history of a person and what background they come from, that's not really relevant to what you're able to produce. To get a women example as well, so we have balance. Dr. Farah Hashmi, some of you may know her, massive impact again. Okay, so these are some of the examples. Now, if you want to know more examples, I can inspire you and things like that. So here are some of the links that can actually give you more ideas on what are some of the problems that you can be solving and some of the impact that you can be making in the world. So this topic of inspiration, getting ideas from other people, what's happening in different areas, you can actually use these links to have an understanding of that. So that's just for your own studies if you want more inspiration. Okay, so if you really look at it, all of these people, they did not say, hey, you know what, I don't have the resources I need to make an impact in the area that I want to make an impact in. They were not successful in their first attempt. They had to keep trying, experimenting, learning from it, pivoting, and so on and so forth. And it wasn't like a roadmap. Okay, I want to do this. Here's my steps. No, you had to struggle. You had to keep trying again and again. And it wasn't a very passive approach. Oh, I'm just in high school. I'm just in university. I'm just working. I have kids. No, they were actually looking at what they have, and what they were doing is actually managing what they had. So whatever resources they had, they were managing it really well. And whatever gaps they had, they were learning and building on top of what they had. And they were also collaborating to achieve a bigger impact. Okay, so far so good? Okay, so when it comes to managing, you have three things that you want to manage. One is your time. And a lot of people talk about time management, but at the same time, you also have to manage your focus. So if you are giving 1 hour to something, doesn't mean that you are actually giving 100% of your energy. So you have to actually manage your focus, and at the same time, energy as well. So the idea I'm trying to convey here is that if you give 1 hour, I give 1 hour, the actual contribution is not equal, because it depends on how much energy I'm also putting into it and how much focus I'm also putting into it. So along with managing time, you have to also manage focus and energy as well. Now, in order to do that, what needs to happen is first to realize the importance of our time. So here's a good thing, right? So imagine if I were to say, hey, I'm going to give you $17 every day. Every day till you die, you'll be getting $17 or $1,700. You would start planning, right? Okay, I have $1,700. This is what I want to do in my life. I want to go on a vacation. I want to go on Hajj. I want to buy a house. I want to buy a new car. I want to donate to the MAPS, right? So you'll be planning accordingly. So the question is, how much do we value our time? If you value your time by $1, then you wouldn't care much. But if you value your time by, $1,700 an hour or $100 an hour or $1,000 an hour, you'll value your time more. The reason I have 17 is, imagine if you take 7 hours off sleeping, you're left with 17 hours. So the question is, how well are we investing those 17 hours? And that's also a question that we will be asked on the day of judgment. So as we have from the hadith by the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, that we will not be able to move until we have answered these 5 questions. Right? How did we use our youth? How did we earn our money? What did we spend our money on? What did we do with the knowledge that we actually learned? So this is also something that we will be accountable for on the day of judgment. Okay, so now the question becomes, okay, am I really managing my time well or not? Am I really managing my resources well or not? For you to be able to answer that question, you need to first understand where you are going. Because if there's no goal, then you can say, yeah, you know, I'm doing well. But if you have a goal, then you can measure that how close I am getting to that goal. So that's why we have these worksheets. So we can actually start writing down some goals, and then we can actually start measuring some of the things as well. So basically, we'll be talking about the 5 pillars of success. So and each pillar, you can see, has a modern concept as well as Islamic concept. So it's not new. A lot of time people rephrase things and they say it, but we also have like Islamic concepts surrounding it. So the first concept that we have, or the first pillar that we have, is clarity. Okay, the Islamic concept of clarity is, it's on there. Okay, what is it? You just have to read it. Intention, niyyah, right? What is it that you're after? What do you really want? What do you really intend? Okay, so before we do that, let's do a quick worksheet exercise. I want you to put a name. So if you were to own a business, if you were to own a team, what would you call that business, that organization, that team? Please don't use maps. We have trademark for that, right? Okay, let's put a name for the team. And don't use any of the names on the sheet because I've taken them already.
Are you writing it anywhere in the?
Yeah, this is your sheet. This is your private copy. Nobody will see it. Just you can.
No, but anywhere in particular?
Oh yeah. So this question is the last question on the sheet.
Okay.
Yeah. So we already did question number 1 and 2. So now we're on question number 3. And if you want to share just for inspiration, please raise your hand so you can share your team name, business name, organization name. Okay, so let's move on. That was it. Okay, so now what we will do is that as that organization, as that business, it's important to realize that we do want to cover a wide variety of your life. So it's not just one area. So a holistic life would cover your private worship, it would cover your goals for learning the deen, for spreading the deen, for your family, for your health, for your finances, and for your contribution. Now, for the purpose of today, you will just pick one of these areas, okay? Because we don't have time, so just pick one of these areas. Everybody can pick their separate areas, no big deal. If you want the full worksheet, you can actually print more, and then when you go home, you can cover other areas of your life as well. But for today, just pick one area, and as we go along, you'll be focusing on that area, inshallah. Is that clear? Good. Okay, so for each area, what we want to do, now we are on page number 2. Okay, so page number 2, as you can see on the top, you have the name of your organization. So whatever name you choose earlier, you will put on page number 2, on the top, you'll put the name, and then you'll put the name of the area, such as, spirituality, contribution, financial goals, or family, whatever that area is, you'll put that. And then you will put the result/purpose. So you want to define what is the result, what do you want to achieve in that area? I'll give you some examples. So here are some examples. So whatever we are doing, the end goal is to get closer and closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And there are different ways of doing that. So as you see in the example, for example, you can say, hey, you know what? I want to make technology safe to use. That's why, work for Defender. And I also want to have an identity of a Muslim cybersecurity researcher. So that could be a goal, a purpose behind that area, okay? You can also have, as a family, you can have a goal that, hey, I want to empower my husband, or I want to empower my wife to do such and such thing, okay? You can have a goal around, facilitating other people, for example, or inviting people to Islam. So what's the goal there? Or removing poverty. So whatever that goal is, you want to have an impact. What do you want to achieve from that area? Okay, so what we are doing right now is on second page, just want to define the result/purpose that you want to achieve in that area. If anybody gets stuck, just let me know. I'll give you more concrete examples, inshallah.
Is it supposed to be one, or you can have multiple goals as well?
Yes, but for today, we want to use one, so that, because we don't have enough time. So once you get picture for one, then you can do for others as well. Would you like to have a worksheet? So it's free today. Tomorrow we'll be selling these worksheets for $50. Okay, so once we have done that, what we want to do is we will just skip the next few questions for now, and then you can see the next section says current strengths and current challenges. Strengths and challenges. So we want to have an understanding of what are your strengths in that area. So strengths could be, you know, availability of finances, training, skills, past experience, mentors, friends, and challenges could be like, you know, your physical challenges, health challenges, family challenges, and so on and so forth. So have a clarity on, look, what's stopping me from today to excel, and what are some of the advantages I have to be able to achieve my goal. So that will take a few minutes. I'm gonna actually do something myself in the meantime. Okay, so if you use your strengths and challenges, then what we want to do is basically define how would success look like in the next 10 years. So let's say, so don't worry about how you will get it. Imagine you're making dua. When you're making dua to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, you don't have to really worry about the how. Right? You just ask Allah. So what would happen if you're really successful in 10 years in that area that you're talking about? Then what would success look like in 10 years, 3 years, and 1 year? I'm just taking the slide, by the way. It's not taking you. Okay. People still doing that. All right. So any questions so far? Okay, so far we've talked about the first pillar. What was the first pillar of success? Okay, what was the first pillar of success?
Nia.
Thank you. Clarity or niyyah, right? Okay, good. So the next pillar is mindset. Have you guys heard of the term mindset? Everybody talks about it, right? So Islam gave us the related concept about it, which is what? Faith, yaqeen, iman. All right. So so that's second pillar. Third pillar is ideas, strategy. This is modern terminologies. So Islam gave you basically about consultation, shura, or seeking knowledge and seeking nasiha, ad-din and nasiha, right? The deen, our deen is basically dependent and founded on a nasiha, sincere advice. And then you have the notion of action. So Islam, you can see how focused Islam is on action, right? Amal. So it's not just like talk, but you're actually also acting on it. And how do you act on something is by patience, which is the sabr. So that's your pillar number 2, 3, and 4. And we'll talk about those pillars in a bit, inshallah. Okay, so now there's one pillar remaining. Who can guess the pillar? It's one pillar that's remaining.
Wow.
Okay, mashallah. That was fast. Yes, so that pillar is divine assistance. So you just don't want to depend on your own physical things. That's the non-Muslim world, right? 2 + 2 equals? Right, but you just said with dua how much 2 + 2 can become.
You put a 0.
Yeah, you can put as many zeros as you like. So 2 + 2 can become 4, 400, 40,000, 400,000. So you don't have to depend on only the physical means. Yes, you're going to be realistic, but you don't have to limit yourself by what other people tell you, because you have the concept of barakah. That's the blessing, right? The 2 + 2 can become 40,000, 400,000, and so on and so forth. But there are ways that you can get divine assistance. You can do certain things to increase divine assistance for yourself. So the concept of divine assistance, I have different videos and details on that. So I'll give you some points, but if you want more details, then you can check out these videos as well. So now imagine that somebody, they want to achieve something, but we tell them, hey, you know what? You're in 21st century, but you cannot use smartphones, you cannot use computers, you cannot use Azure Cloud, you cannot use Microsoft products. They will be very limited. So likewise, as a Muslim, if you want to achieve something and you don't want to tap into divine assistance, you will be very limited. Okay, so we want to understand what is our worldview, like what are we doing here? That's a very important topic to understand as well. So imagine somebody is stranded on an airport. Okay, so what's going on in an airport? Can you close the door if you don't mind? Sorry. So if you're in an airport, you're waiting for your flight, but there's so much else going on. You can go shopping, you can go to the business lounge and relax, or you can eat, you can buy things, you can meet new friends, and so on and so forth. But at the end of the day, you're really waiting for your flight. And you know, we announce, hey, we are ready to board such and such flight. So that's what's actually happening on an airport. And this world is actually a journey. We are in a transition phase, and it's very important to realize that, so that we just don't think that it's all about, you know, whatever we can do at the airport. So when the transition happens, we have to go through the grave, the life of grave. And that life can actually be business class or really, really miserable. So may Allah protect us from having a miserable life in the grave. And then finally, we go to our retirement with perfect health and energy, either to paradise, or may Allah protect us towards the hellfire. So that's very important to capture. Now we will take a look at one verse and maybe 2 hadith or something like that. And I want you to shout out, what can you see from this verse about any of the different pillars that we have discussed so far? Okay, so let me read out the verse for you. And whoever fears Allah, وَمَنْ يَتَّقِ اللَّهَ, He will make a way out for him. يَجْعَلْ لَهُ مَخْرَجًا, and will provide for him where he does not expect. وَيَرْزُقْهُ مِنْ حَيْثُ لَا يَحْتَسِبْ, and whoever relies upon Allah, وَمَنْ يَتَوَكَّلْ عَلَى اللَّهِ, then He is sufficient for him. فَهُوَ حَسْبُهُ. So what do we learn from these things in the various pillars? And then finally, indeed, Allah will accomplish His purpose. Allah has already set for everything a decreed extent. So let's see if we can take this and, you know, map it onto the different pillars that we have talked about. Okay. Okay. What's related to last pillar? Okay. Yes. So that's the last purpose, right? So basically, how do you seek divine assistance? Is by fearing Allah. So you keep your duty to Allah, and Allah will help you. Allah will make you out of any difficulty. So that's going to the fifth pillar, which was divine assistance. Good. What else? So the last thing that you said, for example, Allah is for everything a decreed extent. I would say that this is related to mindset. Okay, because sometimes we have this mindset of why is this not happening? Why am I not married? Why am I not having kids? Why am I not successful? Why don't I have a job? Why am I still struggling? We need to realize that, look, whatever we want won't happen tomorrow. There's a time that's required, and what we are really to be worried about is, am I putting my best effort or not? So I would probably say that this is related to mindset. What else can you see? So again, relying, tawakkul, I would also say that's also part of mindset. Okay, so let's move on to the next one. This is from the hadith of the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and he is now teaching a young man. So look what he's saying. I shall teach you some words of advice. Number one, be mindful of Allah and Allah will protect you. What is this? Which pillar? Divine assistance. Okay, so you do this, Allah will assist you, right? So that's divine assistance. Be mindful of Allah and you will find Him in front of you. Again, divine assistance. If you ask, then ask Allah. Clearly divine assistance. And if you seek help, then seek help from Allah. And know that if the nation were to get together to benefit you with anything, they would not be able to benefit you except with what Allah has written. And if they were able to harm you, they can't do that except with what Allah has written. Now this is mindset. Good. So one of the reasons I want you to do, as you read Quran daily, as you reflect on Quran, as you read khutbah, try to map things down, because that will help you to take action. Okay, so now we are moving on to a new thing. So now to help you achieve your goal, how would you feel if we give you one employee or a volunteer free for the whole year? How would you feel? Good. Okay, so let's plan that out. So what we will do, basically, we'll give you first employee, so that now we're on the page number, the third page. So I would like you to put a name for that employee. Okay, but just one restriction. If you're a male, you're gonna get a male employee. If you're a female, you're gonna get a female employee. So put a name for that employee number one, the first hire of your company. It's very important, guys. Don't be lazy. Put the name. So once you have the name, please put down what area he or she will be helping you on. Okay, so area is whatever we decided earlier, right? So whatever you're focusing on today, that's the area that he or she will be helping you with. And then what are the main 3 goals for the next 3 months? So let's think about November, December, well, January. So what do you want him or her to help you achieve in the next 3 months? So what should happen by end of January? Let's say 3 main goals that should be taken care of by end of January. Okay, let's move on. All right, so next question that you have is basically just a rough 24-hour schedule of that first employee. Like, how would you like him or her to manage time? Obviously, make sure that you don't make him or her work because he's going to burn out. So you probably want to have a balanced routine that he's taking care of his soul or body, family, and you're also investing some time for that first employee to learn and develop skills. And then majority of the time, he or she would be giving to direct actions. Okay, so it's going to be a holistic development, inshallah. Now, the last question on that sheet is basically what habits does he or she have? So habits could be like, you know, going to bed early, having a good breakfast, working out every day, reading, you know, a chapter every day, or reading a book a week, whatever. So what good habits would you like your first employee to have? As you can see, this is the last question. There's no more questions for you guys. After that, it's just lecturing. Sorry, please repeat that.
The one for just 24 hours.
Yes. So you probably want to, okay, so this could be like, okay, you know, the person is reporting at work, let's say 6 a.m., 7 a.m., Fajr, quick workout, you know, and then the first he would be doing some making phone calls, or, you know, writing a book if that was your goal, or fundraising if you wanted to run a charity, or it could be, I don't know, developing a program if you were actually inventing a product, whatever that thing was, right? So if you're running, let's say, an orphanage, to, you know, go and teach people at the orphanage to do operational tasks, whatever. So basically, whatever would help you achieve the goals that you have set for the next 3 months. It's just that the difference is that you don't have to do it all. You can actually direct, you can lead, you can order somebody else to do it for you, right? Your first employee, your first team member will do it for you. All right, so you're ready to meet your first employee? Free employee, not kidding. Ready? Okay, you guys have phone? I'll send you the picture on the phone. Does everybody have a phone? Can you please take it out? Let me give you an address where you'll see the picture. Okay, so once the phones are out, please open camera in selfie mode.
For that, you'll need to unlock your phone.
Yeah, so that's your first employee. So basically, before you lead anybody else, you first need to lead yourself. That's a very important concept. So whatever you were actually planning to do to that first employee, that's basically a plan for yourself. And that's a very important thing. So what have we talked about so far? We talked about the 5 pillars of success. Okay, They talked about clarity, and we also talked about having a plan for your first employee. So welcome, you guys are all managers from today. All right, so now we will go into the other details of the other pillars. So far, any questions? Okay, so mindset. So what do we need to talk about in mindset? What are some of the typical issues that people have regarding mindset? What blocks them? What they can do to have a powerful mindset? So number one, past success. Okay, you guys all have, maybe we talked about earlier, right? We talked about some inspirational stories of what people have done in the past. Okay, what if I were to tell you that everybody here has done great things in the past? Oh, you believe me? So what are some of the great things that you've done in the past? So if you want me to talk about more, so I have a video on that. It's called You Are So Inspiring. You actually are very inspiring. So think about some of the things that you have accomplished today, right? So starting from a child, you've done amazing things, right? Most importantly, you guys learned how to walk. Do you know how much effort it takes to walk? How many times you have to fall and get up and try again, get up, try again, get up, try again. You don't care about people laughing at you or saying whatever they are saying. You don't care about if it hurts. You keep trying, you keep trying. Similarly, to be able to speak, to be able to read, it required so much effort. So we have all done that. Okay, so the main point here is to realize that you are capable. You have done amazing things in the past. And then the second point is failures or results. So that's the second video, right? This is a metaphor. I have like escalator metaphor. So what happens is sometime in life, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives us some people, a job, maybe some tools, some relatives, whatever it is, and they help us. They help elevate us from level 1 to level 5, level 6, whatever it is. But then at the end of the day, just like an elevator ends, escalator ends, that relationship, that connection, that tool, that ability, that crutches, they also end. A lot of people then keep looking down, oh, what happened to my escalator? No, you have to realize and appreciate that Allah gave you that for a time, and now you have to move on. So that's also a mindset, that it's not failure, it's a progress, it's results, and then you learn from it, and then you move on. Now the third thing is this cat. This is also very important. The concept of validation. A lot of time we validate ourselves by other people. What do my friends think of me? What do my manager think of me? What do my people think of me? So they may not appreciate who you are. They may say, you're not good enough, you can't do it, you always fail, you never keep your promises. But that's their view. How do you view yourself in the mirror? So you can view yourself like this cat and look at yourself as a tiger. Okay, there's nobody stopping you from that. But that may be a false mirror. But if you really want to use a true mirror, judge yourself according to Quran and Sunnah. That would be a true validation. And see how you apply to that, right? Are you putting in your best effort? Are you using sabr? Are you using consistency? Are you using patience, and so on and so forth? And then finally, for your external validation, use Quran and have the right set of friends. Don't have friends that give you wrong perception. Have friends that will give you true advice, and connect to Quran to get that true advice as well. So these are 4 main things that we want to talk about in the mindset. So now we'll move on to strategy and ideas. So let's say now you have something that you want to do. How do you get there? How do you get the ideas to achieve? Because you may have something, okay, I want to do this, I want to build this, I want to open another masjid. How do I do it? I have no idea. So what can you do today in 2019 with all the different resources that are available to you? We'll share some of them. So read, right? Reading is so easy. Books are at your fingertips. You can, use computer, you can use libraries, so many things, right? So for example, in Toronto, we have access to tons of books just by library. So you actually download an app called Libby, and you can get access to all the books, right? So there's nothing that's stopping you. You can get audiobooks, you can get textbooks, and so on and so forth. I use podcasts. So why are podcasts good? Because you actually get to see the life story of a lot of different people, right? What are they doing? How did they, break through? How did they work through their issues that they were having? Be open and network with many people. Meet people, go to different events. Use meetup.com. They may have, meetups on different events and things like that. Knowing your Islamic history, right? How did Muslims lead the world? What kind of contribution did they? How did they change the society? How did they improve the society? Max Gala is one of the Toronto initiatives that kind of It nominates and awards excellence in Muslims in different fields. So that could be a good inspiration. Yaqeen Institute has a series on confident Muslims. That's a good storyline as well. Take a look at what other people are doing, what other nations are doing. So that will give you ideas. And I have collected a lot of podcasts and a lot of different resources in this link, self-development and growth plan. So that again is available to you. It's on the paper. So you can take a look at that. It will take you there. More, you can go, like, you don't have to go through traditional education. If you don't have traditional education, you need to have more skill development. Go and audit courses. So I think one of the things that many people don't know, you can go to university and you can sit in a course and audit it without even paying for it. Use online courses, right? Online platforms like massive open online courses like Coursera, Udemy. What else do we have? You guys know what I'm talking about, right? Good. Okay, obviously having a mentor, a coach that can help you, plan out things that can also be helpful as well. This is also very important, right? So if you volunteer for an organization, if it's a proper organization, obviously be careful about who you volunteer for, but volunteering can also give you a lot of skill, can build networks for you, can build connections for you, and give you the right skills as well. Okay, so we talked about that. So here's an interesting thing. What we are doing today is basically we are writing down what can happen in the next 5 years if you actually put in effort. It could be another thing that you can do as a homework. We won't do it now. Is to write an alternative plan. What happens if you don't take action? What happens if you just keep going the way you are going? Where would you be in the next 5 years? So we talked about mindset. We have also talked about strategies. Good. So we have roughly 20 minutes. So we'll talk about the remaining pillars. Any questions so far? All right. So let's talk about execution. This is also very important. So our Islamic concept related to that was amal, actions with sabr. So the first thing is for us to get out of our comfort zone. So when you are on the airport and you have this conveyor belt, right? Many people just relax on there, and most people actually walk past it. So that's something to think about. Don't be passive. Take a look at what you have and plan and move forward. Okay. There's no growth in comfort zone. That's a very important quote to remember. And also there's a good book. It's called Discipline Equals Freedom. It's a good manual. I think it's very motivational. Discipline Equals Freedom. And you can actually get it in the ebook. You can also get it as a podcast. So the earlier document that I linked to, it actually has a link to podcast. So you can actually listen to it for free on Spotify. So it could be a good motivational thing every day as well. Sorry? Freedom. Okay. So execution is what we'll spend a lot of time on. So if you remember when you had your first employee, we were planning the 3-month plan for that person. So the way you want to plan is, obviously you want to start with 3 months that you already did. And then you want to bring that 3 months to a weekly plan, and then from that weekly plan to a daily plan. And once you have that, then you want to act on that plan and then evaluate how well did you do. If you are missing what you have done, then think about what you can adjust. I mean, are you really setting too hard goals for you? You need to tweak your goals. You need to tweak your plans so that you can actually keep that cycle going. Plan, act, measure, and keep repeating, right? Okay, so accountability is very important, right? Daily accountability, weekly accountability. Put down some time every day before going to bed. Have a review of what happened today. What do I need to do tomorrow? And block out like half an hour, 45 minutes just by yourself. Or maybe with another friend, right? So you have 2 people, you can just get together and then evaluate your plan and progress. And then very importantly, at the beginning of every quarter, please have some time, blocked out for yourself. We do it for organizations, we do it for teams. Why don't we do it for ourselves and our families, right? Everybody does it at work, but we don't do it for ourselves. We don't do it for our families. Okay, obviously make sure that you have the right friends, right? That can really, really be impactful. Okay, now here's something that you can do, right? A lot of time people find it hard to commit to habits and plans. So we need to have some sort of short-term consequences. So if you don't come to Fajr tomorrow, right, there's no physical consequence of that is visible, okay? But if you really want to come to Fajr, I have a solution for that. if you commit to it, you'll for sure come to Fajr. Are you ready? Just send me $50 every day you don't come for Fajr. So doing something like that can really help for whatever goal you want to have, right? Now, there are different ways of doing that. One way is, for example, Abdullah can give me $500, and then each day you show up, I'll give you your $50 back. So that's one way of doing it. Or the alternative is that, okay, you know, at the end of the week, I will figure out how many times I didn't do workout, I didn't come for Fajr, whatever, and then I'll pay you. So whatever works for you, you may have to keep trying, and then you'll figure out. So the idea is to have some sort of short-term consequences. And it's also important for us to take care of our physical health as well, because that has an impact on our mental as well as spiritual health as well. And this is Islamic concept too, right? Now, we talked about habits earlier. That's a very important thing. So yes, you will have, you know, some goals that you are taking care of, but also having small habits. That could be your 15 minutes with Quran, or coming to Islamic classes, or, you know, certain number of salah in the masjid. Actually, subhanAllah, I was just reflecting today. Like, I came to masjid after 4 days. So it's been a while. It really impacts you, right? So since I got to Seattle, I went to masjid Sunday night, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. I didn't go to masjid. So it has an impact. And today I went for Jummah and then Isha here. So that's what I'm saying. That it's important to be connected to the masjid and, you know, keep coming at least once a day and so on and so forth. So here's an app. It's an interesting app called Habit Share app that you can use. Put down some of the habits. You can also share it with your friends. So you can see that some of the people are sharing, right? So you can share it with your friend, and as you tick off your habit, the friend will get a notification. As the friend ticks off a habit, you will get a notification, and then you can measure results on how things are moving forward. So this app is, again, you have everything on your paper, right? So you don't have to worry about it. It's called Habit Share app. I don't get any money for that. Okay, so now we are going on to task management. How do you actually manage your task? So use Microsoft To Do, right? Really doing flex from Microsoft, or Wunderlist, or whatever to-do app you like to do, because this can really help you. A lot of time people are carrying everything in their head and they get overwhelmed. But if you just like put down everything on a to-do app, and then, you know, beginning of your week, beginning of your day, you can see, okay, all these items are due. I will do this, this, and that tomorrow. So that can really, really help you. A key thing to remember is to categorize action, right? It's a very common categorization. Make sure you put each action, each to-do in one of these categories. So what is something that's urgent and important? Give me an example of something that's urgent and important. Doctor's appointment. Why is that urgent? You can always schedule it for next week, right? It's important, but is it urgent? Okay. Sorry? Tax returns. Yeah, bills can be urgent, right? Because if you don't pay, then they will keep adding interest and so on and so forth. Okay. Another thing is that's also urgent and important is salah, right? Because you can't delay salah, right? It has to be done within the interval. But yeah. Okay, what's something that's urgent but not important? Sorry? No. What is something that's urgent and not important? So social media feeds are like urgent and not important, right? Because they send you, oh, right now, some people would have gotten a notification, right? Zubair has started a live, watch it before it ends. So if you use Instagram, that's kind of stuff you see, right? Or the whole concept of stories, right? That stays for 24 hours. So if you don't see it, you lose it. So they're not important things. They just create fake urgency. It's not important. What's something that's not urgent and not important? Everything else, right? And something that's not urgent but important. So these are the things that we want to have our habits around, okay? So for example, reading Quran may not be urgent. You won't lose a job usually if you don't read Quran. You won't have, you know, something that you can see. You don't see the urgency, right? Taking care of your health is not urgent because you don't see the impact, but it's an important thing to do. So these are some of the things that we really want to focus on and create habits around so that we don't lose track on that. And to create urgency for those things is what I was suggesting you earlier. Send me the money, right? If you miss it. So now, after talking about task and habit management, we want to talk about schedule management. So if you say, I will read Quran every day, or if you say, I will, you know, work out every day, I'll go on a walk every day, unless you schedule it, it's not going to happen. Most likely you won't do it unless you schedule it. So scheduling also creates urgency. So you want to say, hey, you know what, I'm going to do it between 4 and 5 p.m. or 5 p.m. before I go to work home. After work, I'm going to go on a walk or go to gym, or before I go to work, I will go to gym, whatever. So when you put some schedule, then you can actually make sure that something is happening. Another way of scheduling is joining a class. So if you want to read Quran and you're not able to do so, join a Quran class, or join a workout class, join a book club, right? Have a plan with your buddy that, okay, we'll come together, we'll grab a coffee and we'll read a book or chapter of a book. So you're making progress. So stuff like that. Exactly. So that would also create urgency and importance. Now, to manage focus, who has heard of the Pomodoro technique? Okay, good. So the idea is basically you can get actually an app as well. So you focus on 25 minutes, you do whatever you're doing, or so you're reading Quran, or you're writing a blog, or you're studying something, and you don't use any social media, you don't talk to anybody, you focus on that thing. After 25 minutes, the timer will go off, you take a 5-minute break. So you can walk or check out social media or play a game, whatever you want to do. Then boom, 25 minutes, you keep focusing on whatever you're focusing on, 5 minutes break, 25, 5, 25, 5. You can do that at work too, right? And then after 4 cycles of that, you can take a 15-minute break, for example, and so on and so forth, and then you keep moving forward. Okay, now if you say, Zubair, I don't have time, so let me give you a tool for that. So there's an excellent tool called Toggle right here. So you can actually, open, I have Toggle, I use it, by the way. And then you can say, okay, what am I doing right now? I'm, doing a workshop, I'm working. So at the end of the day, you can get a report of what you actually spent time on. Okay. It can also, if you want to integrate it, it will also integrate with your phone or computer. It will tell you which programs you spent time on, how much time was YouTube versus whatever, right? Okay. Clear? So we talked about 920. Good. So we have the last pillar we'll be talking about right now. That is divine assistance. Okay, so that's the thing, right? We should be chasing the love of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. How do we get the love of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? How do we get close to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? The most important thing is, so anything that Allah has made obligatory. Okay, so salah, our families, whatever we are committed to, the obligatory things are things that will get us fastest to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And then you do the non-obligatory things. That could be anything else that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala loves or likes. And when we do that, we reach a stage in which we become like the wali of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. As we keep doing that, we keep getting closer and closer to that state. So that should be our niyyah, that should be our goal that we are trying to achieve via different means. So we talked about this hadith. So again, this is a reminder. If we want to be successful, we have to obey Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Sins reduce the barakah, sins slow us down, and sins, put us away from what we want to achieve in this dunya and the hereafter. So very important to realize that we can't do it alone, and we are aiming to be getting that from the awliya of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, focusing on our private worship and loving what Allah loves. That's also very important, right? So what Allah loves more, we should be loving more. So a lot of time people would be like, hey, you know what? I'm spending so much time in dawah and, volunteering and coming to masjid committee meeting and, being a volunteer in the masjid, right? Because it's cool too, if you really think about it. If I spend time at home, you don't get as much appreciation as much you would get from the masjid board, right? So the masjid board would appreciate you more than your wife, than your husband, than your family, than your kids. But what does Allah love more? So something for us to think about, that even though that may be boring, even though we may not be appreciated, making sure that what's more important to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has been taken care of before we do the extracurricular things. So Quranic formula of success in leadership is what? Salah and dhikr, remembering Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And then execution is via sabr, being consistent and being patient, being disciplined. So another very important topic is a video link to it. Is basically connecting with the speech of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. How much time do we actually give to the speech of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? Not only reading, but also reflecting, right? Contemplating on that and so on and so forth. So here are some of the things that you can do, right? When you are opening the Quran as a suggestion. So as you read a verse, ask yourself, what does this verse tells me about Allah? Which kind of people is this verse talking about? Which qualities is this verse talking about? Is there a promise of Allah in this verse? Is Allah saying that if you do this, I will do that? Okay. Is it reminding me to focus on something else? And what kind of mindset is this giving me? So we did some of these examples earlier, but here is some of the examples, right? And if you take a look at this document that's linked there, Benefit from Quran. So we are going through this series, and each time we do a verse or two, we try to give you some pointers so that you can think about it as you do your own self-reflections. So remember what? Safety first. You buckle up when you drive. So make sure that you are safe from sins, and you repel the sins by doing tawbah and so on and so forth. So that was my chat on my lecture. Now question is, what did you actually learn? Right? So what am I going to take away? So the more you tell me now, the happier I would be that at least you guys are retaining something. So we will go around and then we'll see what you guys learned. Should we start with you?
You need to have a plan.
You need to have a plan. Good. Okay. Other?
Focus.
Focus. Nice. Abdullah?
Probably first lead yourself. Be the best.
Okay, good. First lead yourself.
Safety first.
Safety first. Nice. Okay, we'll let you go. Sister?
That if you want something in life, you have to definitely have an intention for it, plan for it, take action, and ask Allah for that.
Good. Jazakallah khair.
Right now, the Quran talks about self-improvement and how it's important in Islam.
Okay. Good.
I really like the point that you brought up about thinking about the alternative plans, if you didn't take action, and what would happen.
Good. Okay, yeah, so here's a quick recap. So we talked about the 5 pillars of success. We talked about clarity, where do I want to be and when. So you want to have a deadline around it, dating around it, like you put some sort of a schedule around it. And then you plan for your first employee. And then you realize that, hey, I have to lead myself first. And then we talked about mindset, faith, yaqeen, strategy and ideas, execution. So under execution, we talked about a lot of things: sabr, types of friends, planning and accountability, power of habits, task management, focus management, schedule management, and finding time, and divine assistance. So now call to action is for you to complete this worksheet, please. And you can also do the same thing for other areas of your life. So the links on that, on the page will actually give you the worksheet, blank sheet, and you can print it and you can do it for other areas of your life as well. So set goals for your next 3 months. Make sure you have a plan, you have ideas on what you will do. Take a picture of this thing, email yourself and set a calendar appointment to review it after 3 months. Send it to me as well. I'll be happy to take a look at that. And then, yeah, every week you have a weekly plan. And don't forget to have divine assistance, and you can do that. Get more of it by salah, dua, Qur'an, being kind to parents and relatives, and staying away from sins. So these are other resources that you have on your paper as well. That's it. Good. Jazakumullah khair. And thank you so much for taking the time on this Friday night. I hope it was beneficial. I hope Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala puts barakah in it and make it beneficial. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to take them. If not, then that's about it. Subhanakallahumma wa bihamdika.